Shalom. This week's Torah portion is Parashat Vayechi, the final portion of the book of Genesis, beginning with verse 28 of chapter 47. This portion essentially focuses on the final years of Yaakov, the patriarch Jacob, in Egypt. These were his happiest years, having finally been reunited with his beloved Yosef and surrounded by all his children. When Yaakov became ill and he knew that his time for leaving this world was approaching, he summoned his children to his deathbed, and he told them that he wanted to reveal to them the time of the end, meaning the secret of the end of days, the messianic era, time of redemption. Verse 1 of chapter 49 states, Jacob called for his sons and said, "Gather, and I will tell you what will happen to you at the end of days. Gather and listen, sons of Jacob, and listen to Israel, your father." He was all prepared to do just this, and then suddenly, our sages teach, he was prevented from divulging the information because he lost the revelation. The Shekhinah, the divine presence, departed, and this prophetic knowledge was withdrawn from him. It was concealed. Instead, we find that Yaakov blesses his children. Ostensibly, there seems to be nothing here in these blessings about the end of days. Although he was prevented from revealing to his sons all that would befall them from now until the time of the redemption, which is what he had intended, still, the blessings he gave them are actually profoundly personal, unique insights into their essence and inner nature, alluding to the strengths and weaknesses of each tribe. His blessings would serve as guideposts to help his children rise to the challenge of achieving their full potential. And he did see prophetically each of his sons' descendants through all the coming generations. As everyone knows, the coming of the Messiah and the subsequent ultimate redemption, which will bring about a spiritual revolution and foster harmony between all people, is a fundamental Torah belief. This is one of the 13 principles presented by Maimonides as the cornerstones of basic belief. And in the prayer book of Israel, we affirm this belief each morning with this statement, "I believe with perfect faith in the coming of the Messiah, and even though he tarries, nevertheless, I wait for him each day." And 3 times each day in the Amidah prayer, we intone the words, "We hope for your salvation all day long." This longing, this hope, this yearning for Hashem's salvation is the mainstay of our lives. So open up your heart. We know that God will bring about the redemption in his own time. Let's call that the default time. But we're also taught that if all of Israel were found to be worthy, the Messiah would arrive immediately and the redemption would be ushered in immediately, before its time. Otherwise, the redemption will not occur until the default, that is, the final time decreed by God. Isaiah the prophet gave us a verse that expresses this idea. In chapter 60 and verse 22, the prophet declares, "I am Hashem, in its time I will hasten it." How do we understand these words? The verse seems to contradict itself. If it's going to be in its time, meaning if the redemption is to come about in its divinely ordained time, then what is the meaning of "I will hasten it," that Hashem will make it happen faster? But as we said, the answer is that both scenarios are potentially true. There's a predetermined default time, but if we are found deserving, it can happen quicker, and Hashem promises that he will bring forward the time in his kindness. But as usual, it seems that everything is up to us. So the question is, how can we make this happen? So in the middle of Yaakov's amazing, poetic, veiled blessings to his sons, between the blessings of Dan and God, Yaakov pauses, and in some sort of time out, he stops the blessings and he suddenly voices a short personal prayer. Lishuatcha kiviti Hashem. For your salvation do I hope, O Hashem. What do these words really mean, and why do they appear just now? What is this word kiviti, I hope? So first of all, we know that hope is the key to everything in this world and in the next. Hope is the source of forgiveness. Hashem, grant us favor. We have hoped for you, says Isaiah in chapter 33. King David's prayers are full of hope. I put confidence in Hashem. My soul put confidence and I hoped for his word, he prays in Psalms 130. And in Psalms 130, he says, "Let Israel hope for Hashem, for with Hashem is kindness and with him is abundant redemption." But what makes this sudden personal prayer break even more unusual, though, and really open up your heart, is that the name of Hashem, the holy 4-letter name of Hashem, Yud and He and Vav and He, the name that signifies mercy and kindness, it's been all but missing in the entire last third of the book of Bereshit. missing from all the chapters here in Genesis since the sale of Yosef, since Yaakov's return to the land in chapter 32, with the exception of the story of Yehuda and Tamar in chapter 38, and the incident of Yosef in the house of Potiphar and Yosef in the prison in chapter 39, which were all peak low times. And then now suddenly, the name appears here, it reappears here. Why the name is sometimes concealed and sometimes revealed is a very deep secret. From time to time, everyone has a crisis of faith. It's easy to give in to despair. Yet the soul of man is a part of Hashem, and thus the natural state of our heart, our default as humans possessing a divine soul, should be faith and trust in God. But just as Hashem's name was concealed throughout the saga of Yosef, so too, layers and layers of concealment, of klipot, husks, sediment, separate us from Hashem, and thus separate us from our true selves. Every single day we're tested and tried. But everything we go through in this life, all the travail we experience, the purpose of our tests, it's all meant to shake our hearts awake, to jar us, to dislodge us from the inertia into which we have sunk, to arouse us to turn directly to God. Yaakov's words, "For your salvation, I hope, Hashem," is the prayer of our own pristine soul, crying out, yes, I do believe that Hashem loves me, that He created the world in kindness, and in love and kindness He will bring redemption to the world. This is the secret that Yaakov continues to reveal to us even now in these final generations, these waning end days. Despite the loss of the prophecy that Yaakov ostensibly intended to deliver to his children, with his words, "For your salvation, I hope, Hashem," the forefather indeed prophesied of the future redemption and, open up your hearts, deepest of the deep, it was through him, through this prayer, that Hashem's name goes from concealment to being revealed once again. And with these sparse 3 words, Yaakov wrote his children the only prescription that they would ever need to get through all that will befall them from now until further notice. So open up your heart deeper than ever before in your life. The secret of the redemption is hope, longing. The Talmud teaches us that when a person leaves this world and comes before Hashem's heavenly court to be judged, he's asked some questions. Did you deal honestly with others? Did you set aside time for Torah study? Did you bring children into the world? Did you anticipate? Did you long for Hashem's deliverance? As if to say that one's answers to these questions will be the determining factors in the soul's judgment. These are the fundamental benchmarks of how a life was lived. Tzipita liyeshua, did you hope? Did you long for Hashem's saving? Through this longing in our lives, we connect the material world to its spiritual source. We connect the hidden with the revealed. We uncover Hashem's name. This amazing teaching of our sages about each of us being asked this question on that day, it imparts to us a profound truth, which is one of the secrets of redemption. Hope is not just a feeling, like something that either someone feels or doesn't feel. It is a basic spiritual tool that we were given and trusted to develop. The question posed to the soul at the time of judgment is really, did you use that tool? Because also before we get there, where we are ultimately going and where we will have to come up with some answers, utilizing that tool also changes our life in this world. As the Holy Ramchal writes, if a person has truly attained this attribute of longing, even if he's found to be short on good deeds, he will not be embarrassed in the future world because hope is everything, and there's hope for him. Yaakov helps us to understand that the question that will be posed in the heavenly court, did you long for Hashem's deliverance, really means, did you not give up? Did you think you were unworthy of redemption? Did you think you were unredeemable? Because there's no such thing as not being worthy of redemption. If you hope for it, demonstrating belief and trust in Hashem, you're already worthy of it. Yaakov's exhortation of hope also reminds us of a deep and misunderstood truth. There is no such thing as an unanswered prayer. Hashem is always listening, regardless of whether or not one thinks that one's prayer has been answered according to our liking. If Hashem does not send the healing or answer or deliverance that we're asking for according to our understanding, it doesn't mean that He's not listening. King David addressed this very question in the last verse of Psalm 27, where he writes, "Hope to Hashem, strengthen yourself and He will give you courage, and hope to Hashem." Why the repetition of these words, hope to Hashem? Our sages teach that the meaning of these words is this: hope to Hashem, and if you feel that He's not answering your prayer, strengthen yourself, and He will give you courage, and hope to Hashem again, meaning don't stop praying. Keep on praying even if you don't see your prayer answered, and even if you feel that you're not deserving. Your very hope is what makes you deserving. Look what the prophet Isaiah declares in chapter 40 and verse 31. He gives strength to the weary and grants abundant might to the powerless. Youths may weary and tire, and young men may constantly falter, but those whose hope is in Hashem will have renewed strength. They will grow wings like eagles. They will run and not grow tired. They will walk and not grow weary. So, after so much concealment of God's name, in the midst of the narrow place of Egypt, on the eve of the dark, genocidal exile of Egypt, which was to become an even deeper concealment, Yaakov prepares to reveal to his children what they will need to know about the last days, but is then compelled to draw back. No, he does tell us the secret. Yaakov prophesies and opens an individual path of tikkun for each of his children, and in the very midst of it, he utters the greatest prophecy of all. And Torah records it right out in the open. The secret of redemption is hope. The righteous patriarch Jacob births hope through this prayer for all time, till the end of time. And his words are the spiritual root of the hope that will guide us out of exile to the final and ultimate redemption. So Genesis, Sefer Bereshit, the book of the beginning of everything, the book of creation, the creation of all existence in kindness, about which Hashem declared, and behold, it's very good. The book of ups and downs, the book of fathers and sons and brothers, the book of misunderstandings and strife, and of love and reconciliation. It comes to an end this week with the descent into Egypt, with darkness on the horizon, on the eve of exile and servitude. But it comes to an end with faith and trust in Hashem, with the planting of a prophetic seed of hope, from which will sprout forth the book of Exodus, which will take us from horrific bondage to freedom, to the Sinai covenant and the tablets of the commandments, to the tabernacle, all along the prophesied path, the path paved with hope to the great, final, complete redemption. May it be speedily and in our days. Amen. Thank you for watching this week's Jerusalem Lights Torah portion. May we always hope to Hashem and never give up, especially on ourselves. May we merit to the ultimate complete redemption, and as is customary for the congregation to recite at the conclusion of the reading of each book of the Torah, be strong, and may we be strengthened. Shabbat Shalom.